Hi everyone, it's Lori. It's April 2017 and Cricut Design Space 3 has just been released in the public beta, which means they're still testing and working out a few bugs, but it's here for you to use and enjoy. And I couldn't be more excited to show you some of the new features. And for those of you who are new to Cricut, I'm going to walk you through how to use Design Space and navigate through the workspace. So let's get started. Here we are at the home screen, and right away we see new features. First of all, we have all kinds of great deals and offers across the top, and you can navigate through these by using the arrows left and right. Next, we have My Projects. This is new. This is an easy way to get to your saved Cricut projects. These are projects that you have created and saved into Design Space. And also new is we now get a preview of our projects. Before we just had the name, but now you can go through and see your projects. You can click on them and get a bigger preview. These are some coin envelopes that I uploaded into Design Space. We can rename our projects, which I love, and you can delete them from here. And also you can scroll left or right to see all of your projects in Design Space that you have saved. We can also create a new project from right here, and we can create a new project from right here in the upper right. Next we have What's New. This is What's New for Disney, and you can click again the arrows left and right, or you can click See More and be taken to and I was playing in Design Space, so I'm just going to hit replace. So if you click See More, you can see a bigger preview of each image. And then as you pick the image that you want, you can click on it. And these are Make It Now projects. And I'll go into that in just a moment. Let's go back to the home screen. Next we have kind of a trending category here. And this shows, Mother's Day is right around the corner. So they've got mothers here. This is definitely a trending topic right now. So these are all kinds of Mother's Day projects. And again, you can scroll through these by going left or right, click See More to see them all in one screen. These are vinyl projects. So all of you vinyl lovers or those looking to get into vinyl can find some easy Make It Now projects right here that include vinyl. We have an iron-on category, same thing. We have cards category and home decor. Now, what these projects are called Make It Now projects. And if you click on a Make It Now project, I'm just going to click on this first one right here. It's going to bring up a nice new big preview window of your project. It's going to give it a name. It's going to give you a skill level, which this one's considered easy, and a approximate time frame. It says about 30 minutes, less than 30 minutes. It's going to give you the finished size of the project, the materials you need to cut it, anything else you need to assemble it, such as transfer tape or adhesive. It's going to give you a description of the project. It's going to tell you what you need to do to prepare to make the project. It's going to tell you what you need to cut it, and then it's going to tell you how to assemble. Here are some tips and trick videos that Cricut has put together to help you assemble this if you need to. And then it's going to tell you the images and fonts that are used in this project. And you can see like this one all are part of Access images or free images. So it wouldn't cost you anything to make this if you're an Access member. You also have two other options down here at the bottom of each of these projects. You have Customize and you have Make It. If you click Make It, and again, I have to replace because I was playing in here. So you click Make It, and this is going to take you right to your cutting mats. You don't have to do anything. Cricut's got it all set up for you. Those of you who have had Design Space in the past are going to notice this screen looks very different, and it is amazing. I love it. Everything looks so clean. It's so streamlined. And we'll get into the screen a little bit more, but I want to go back to the Make It project. So that is if you just want to make it exactly like it's shown, then you just click Make It. However, say I wanted to make this, but I wanted to change something. So we could go into customize. Now, if you go into customize, Cricut is going to put this on your canvas so that you can do whatever you want. So maybe I wanted to make this envelope a different color. I could do that. So that's the difference between customize and make it. Let's go back to our home screen. So again, all of these projects, you have those two options. You can say, I want to make this just like it is, click it, click make it, or you can click it, click customize, and customize anything to your liking. The other thing I want to explore right here is this little menu bar. You can click this and you have access to the home page, canvas, print and cut calibration. We'll get into that in another video. Manage custom materials. We'll also get into that in another video. New machine setup. If you're new to Design Space, you can click right here and it's going to walk you through setting up your machine. Update firmware, account details, link cartridges. If you're just setting up your Cricut and you have cartridges from a previous machine, this is where you're going to link those cartridges. Cricut access, settings, some legal information. If you just want a brief summary of all the new things in Design Space, you can click right here and they've got a nice little kind of slideshow for you. Choose your state or your country, help menu, and if you want to sign out. So let's go back to home. So we're going to create a new project. So you can click create new project right here, or you can click right here. Either one was going to take you to the home screen. And here we are. This is the canvas. This is where you create and put all of your images together. The first thing we have up here in the left is a new button. So if I was working on a project and then I wanted to start another project, I would click new. We're already in a new project, so I'm not going to click that. The next button we see is projects. This is going to take you back to Make It Now projects. So again, here are all the Make It Now projects. So while we're right here, I want to take you up to this button right here. If you click this, you can sort the Make It Now projects or your projects by different categories. So say I just want to see, let's say I just want to see baby projects. So that's just going to bring up the baby projects. So maybe when I'm in baby, I want to see a baby growth chart. So I could just put in growth chart. And that's going to bring up a couple of projects that are ready to go that are baby growth charts. So that's how projects work. So don't forget to use your filters. It really saves you a lot of time scrolling through a lot of projects when you can kind of zero in by following one of these categories to what you're looking for. So let's go back to the canvas by clicking on canvas. The next button we're going to click on is images. And this is going to bring you to the Cricut library. One thing you're going to notice is we have a much cleaner library. Everything is streamlined and it's fast. Everything loads really fast. We also have bigger previews of our images. But watch this. If we click this button here, they're even bigger. So this is a really nice feature. You're going to notice that these little A's right here on many of the images, that is for Cricut Access. If you are a Access subscriber, and for those of you who are new to Access, Cricut has a couple different subscriptions that you can subscribe to, and they're called Access. If you subscribe to Access, you can use any of these images with the green flag on them as many times as you want, as often as you want. It doesn't cost you anything other than your subscription. You can use them all the time while you are subscribed. Now, if you stop your subscription, you will no longer be able to use those images unless you purchase it. If you're not an Access member and you want to use any of the images, whether it has the green flag or not, there is a purchase price right here in the lower left. So this one I can purchase for 99 cents. If I were to purchase this image for 99 cents, I can use it as many times as I want, for as long as I want, whether I'm subscribed to anything or not. It's my image and I only have to pay for it one time. So I get a lot of questions of the people wanting to understand the difference between buying an image and being an Access member. So for instance, even though I'm an Access member, this image is not part of Access. So if I want to use this image, I need to purchase it, and it's going to cost me 99 cents. But after I pay that 99 cents, I can do whatever I want with the school bus as many times as I want, and I'll never have to pay for it again. So I hope that clears up that for you. Now, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of images here in your library, and if you're looking for something specific, you're not going to want to have to scroll through everything. So they have some ways to sort that out for you. Here we have categories. If we click on categories, we can look at what's free this week, and these always change. So all of these images are free in Access, or free in Design Space this week. Let's go back to categories. We can search by most popular or recently added, and this is fun just to go in and check every once in a while just to see if there's some new things that have added that catch your eye. It's a fun way to just see what's been going on when you weren't looking. Let's go back to categories. They also have categories by topic. So baby, anniversary, Cinco de Mayo, Easter, all kinds of topics there for you. And those are ways to, maybe Valentine's is around the corner and you want to see there's a project you want to make. And you also have a filter by brand. So you can say, I want an Anna Griffin image, or I want a Lori Whitlock image. And all you do is click on that, and this will bring up all of the projects by Lori Whitlock. So once I have the Lori Whitlock projects up, perhaps I just want to see a box by Lori Whitlock. So it's going to bring up boxes that Lori Whitlock has, or the name boxes in the name, like these are box cards. So that's another way to filter. So let's delete that. Let's go check out cartridges. Okay, this is going to bring up different Cricut cartridges, and you can search cartridges by name. So say I want cartridges related to Christmas. So I'm going to type in Christmas and hit enter. Now what this is going to do is bring up any cartridge that has the word Christmas in the title. So that's an easy way to search out a cartridge. This one I haven't purchased, so I want to show you this. If you want to buy all the images on the cartridge, you can buy them all for $29.99, which is a pretty good deal. There's 124 images on here. They're each 99 cents, so you save a lot of money that way if you want to do that. Or you could just buy this one bird for 99 cents. Okay, so let's go back to images. And I'm going to put flower. And we have one other way to filter our images, and that is by clicking on filter right here. And here I can say, I want to see flowers that are part of Access. So I'm going to click on that. And this is just going to bring up all the flowers that are in Access. So it just removed all the stuff that I don't have access to, and it saves me the time of trying to sort and find what I'm looking for. So here we can also filter it out by cards that have flowers, or frames that have flowers, or multi-layer projects that have flowers. So you can use these filters to save you some time from scrolling through all the different objects. And while we're here, I'm just going to grab this flower by clicking on it and click Insert Image. And we're going to go back to the canvas. And I'm just going to use this to demonstrate some other items, but we'll put this off to the side. The next button here we have is text. And this is where the fun of Design Space 3 really shines. I'm going to type, I love my Cricut. Okay, I'm going to move this up here. So here I have some text that I have put on the canvas. Cricut has moved the edit menu up here. So there are some fun things we can do here with our text. Let's move this. Actually, I'm going to move it down about right there. Okay, so while the text is selected, we now can change the font up here. It used to be over to the side and you had this little tiny preview, but look at this. This is beautiful to see a better preview of the text that you might want to change your font to. And this has your system fonts as well as your Cricut fonts. Everything moves really quickly. It loads your fonts much quicker. We have style right here. We can change it to regular, bold, italic, bold, italic. We can change the font size. You can use the up and down arrows to change it, or you could change it this way. We also have letter space, which makes more or less space in between each letter. This comes in handy when you're using script. We have line space, which puts more or less space in between lines of text. You can see those are getting further apart. We have alignment, which we can justify left. We could center or right justify if you have multiple lines of text. If you look over in the layers panel, you'll see this text is, let's get this flower out of our way. You'll see this text is on one layer right here. If I turn it off, everything turns off. So if we click on the text and we click ungroup to letters, watch the layers panel. Now you see every single letter has its own layer. And the beauty of that is if I just want to move this letter C over a little bit, I can do that. If I just want to make this letter C big, I can do that. The other thing that is new is that now, even though I have ungrouped all these letters to their own layer, I can just change the font of that letter if I want. You couldn't do that before. So that's really a fun feature. Now let's click undo and get this back to where it was. And we're going to, I'm going to undo one, oops, redo. Okay, now we're back to where we were. All the text is on one layer, okay? Now watch if we click ungroup to lines. What that did is make this one layer and this line one layer. And again, we can still edit this text. We can still change the font. We can still change the size. We could ungroup just the letters on this. So those are some fun new font features. One other thing I just want to mention quickly, when you're working with fonts, a lot of times people will message me and ask, they want to cut words out for maybe a bulletin board and they want each letter to be 2 inches. And so they will select or type their word and they'll type 2 inches in the size. What happens when you do that is it makes the word or whatever you have selected 2 inches from left to right. You see that's 2 inches. If you want each letter to be 2 inches, you need to do ungroup to letters, select each letter, and change that to 2 inches. That's just a common question that I get a lot. People want their letters to be a certain width, but you have to ungroup and individually change each letter. Okay, let's get rid of the text and let's explore the next button. This is shapes. These are shapes in Design Space. These are free. You can use them as much as you want. They're basic shapes: square, circle, triangle, diamond, hexagon, pentagon, star, octagon, heart, and your score line. So you can use these as many times as you want, as often as you want, and they're always free. Next is upload images. This is where you're going to go if you want to upload your own images. You can use JPEGs, GIFs, PNG, bitmaps, SVGs, or DXF files. I'm going to have a separate video just on uploading images, but I'll just do one really quickly just to show you how simple this is. You click on Upload Image, and you can drag or click a Browse. And I'm just going to find an image from my desktop. I'll just do this PNG file, and we'll click Open. There it is. We have a transparent background. It's a simple image. And I'm just going to click Continue. Here I have some options. And again, I'm going to go into all of this in the next video. So we're going to click Continue. You have a choice to save it as a print and cut or a cut image. And I hope you're noticing how quickly and responsive this design space is. Here we could tag it, and I could tag this as Journey and click Save. And here it is. I can click on it, and that easily I have brought in an image that was not a Cricut image into Design Space, and this is ready to cut. So now we're going to grab our flower that we grabbed earlier, and we're going to explore this edit menu up on top. We have undo and redo. When you click undo, it takes away the last thing that you did. So I just moved that flower from here to up here. If I click undo, it's going to put it back where it was. If I click redo, it's going to redo it. So that's pretty simple. We have select all. Select all is going to select everything that's on the canvas. We have edit. Once you have something selected, you can click edit, and it's going to give you the option to cut, which is the same as delete. Also, this red button is delete. And copy. So if I click copy, and then I click edit, I now have the option to paste. And that's going to paste whatever you copied. It keeps it in the memory, so if I were to do some other, copy that and do some other things, and then come back later and click paste, it will remember that I have that copied. The next thing we can do is click align. So if you have more than one object on your mat, we can select them both by drawing a box around them, and I just click and drag to do the box. Click and drag. And now I want to align these two flowers, and say I want to align them to the left. Now those two flowers are perfectly aligned on the left. The next option we have is arrange. And this flower, you see if I move this flower, it goes behind that flower, okay? What arrange does is it changes the order of the layers. So if I hit arrange, move to front, now this flower is on top of that flower. That makes sense? The next item we have is flip. I can flip this image horizontally, or I could flip it vertically. The next option is the sizing. Now, there are a couple different ways to resize an image. You can always resize an image by clicking on this arrow and pushing or pulling to size it. But say I had this flower and I need it to be exactly 3 inches wide. I would type 3 point. And now it is exactly 3 inches wide. You notice this lock up here. What this does is called lock proportions. And when it's in the lock position, the lock is closed, and it's the same as this button right here. You can use either button. When it is in the lock position like that, if I resize this 3 inches wide, it's going to keep the height in perfect proportion. It's going to automatically adjust the height for me. However, if I unlock this and say I make this 6 inches wide, you see what happened? It kept the 2.83 for the height, and it only adjusted the width. So let's click undo. Similarly, we can unclick the lock this way, and now we can, when we move this arrow, we can move it down, we can move it out. So we can manipulate this image in all directions. Whereas when it's locked, we can only proportionately resize it. So that's how the sizing works and the lock button. Next, we have the rotate button. And this is convenient if you're doing something at angles and you want to make sure everything is at the exact same angle. You can key it in. And you can also use the up and down arrows. Or highlight it and say we want that rotated 45 degrees. The other thing you can do to rotate is use this button right here. And this is a freestyle rotate. However, if you hold your shift key, it's going to rotate at 45-degree increments. The other next option we have is the X and Y axis, and that just tells you where it's at on the canvas. So it's saying that this flower is at 5.79 on the X axis, which is this, and it's at 1.43 on the Y, which is the horizontal. You really won't use those a whole lot now that we have the align feature. It used to be more handy when we didn't have the align feature, but now if I want, both of these flowers to be perfectly in alignment, I would, instead of going up and typing in 2.56 on each one, I would just hit align left. So that's what those buttons are for. Now we go over here to the layers panel and the color sync panel. And you can see I have flower 1 right here. It's highlighted. And this is flower 2. The first button under the layers panel is group. It's not highlighted because this object is grouped together. And what that means is we have flower and then we have all the related layers to that flower right under it. If I click on this, it moves the entire group of layers. The next button we have is ungroup. Now watch what happens in the layers panel when we hit ungroup. I just ungrouped that flower, and now instead of all of those layers being nice and grouped under the word flower, each layer is separate. And if I click to move this, I'm only going to move one piece at a time. Okay, let's click undo, get back where we were. So let's select it all and group again. And now you see this is all grouped. If I select one layer, everything's selected. So what do we use this for? Well, we use this to keep things in place like this so that we can move it without having to move every piece and line it all back up again. But we also use it if I want to, say I'm going to cut this flower and I want to resize it. I want to cut it this big so that I don't have to go and resize each layer by hand. I group it so that I can resize it the way I want it all at one time. So it's going to resize all the layers at once. So while it's still grouped, I can still manipulate these layers a little bit. I could go in and change the color of this layer, for instance. But by and large, anything I do to the grouping is going to do it to everything. So if I just want to maybe resize this blue layer to be bigger than it is, I would click ungroup, and then I can grab just this blue layer and make it really big. So maybe I wanted to do, I don't know why I would, but maybe I would want to do something like that. So that's why you group and ungroup. If you just want to manipulate one part of something, you're going to ungroup it. If you want to just move one part of something, you're going to ungroup it. So let's undo, get this back to the size it's supposed to be. So this is all ungrouped, and this flower is grouped. Do you see the difference in the layers panel? This is the grouped flower. And this flower, in order to move it, I'm going to have to select all of it to move it. Otherwise, I'm just going to move one layer at a time. So that's group and ungroup. The next option we have is duplicate. So I'm going to select this grouped flower and click duplicate. What that does is just make another one, just like you would think it does. It's much similar to the edit, copy, and paste. However, it saves a step for one. I can just hit duplicate. I don't have to paste. It's just going to immediately duplicate. But the difference is with the edit menu, if I hit copy, and then I do something else. Say I go over here and I play with this layer and make that big, something like that. I can come back and I can hit edit and paste, and it remembers what I did. Where duplicate is only going to duplicate whatever is selected. So that's the difference between copy, paste, and duplicate. And then we have the delete button. And in Design Space, there's always more than one way to do things. So I could click delete right here while I have an object selected. Delete. I can select an object. I can hit edit, cut. That's going to delete it. I can select an object and I can click this red X. So there are multiple ways to delete. And again, the button right here. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at in the layers panel is when we have a image on the mat, we have different layers here. What a layer is, think of this as your desktop. So this blue paper is touching my desk, and on top of that blue paper is this pink paper, and on top of that paper is this red paper. So it's kind of like a paper stack. And then, you know, this one is on top of this set. So this is the bottom of my layers panel. This is my desktop. And then this is the order that all those papers are. So that's how to think of the layers panel when you're trying to understand why something's not showing or you need to get it on top. Okay? There are a couple things we can do in the layers panel. I'm going to select this flower and I'm going to ungroup it so that we can work with different layers here and you can see what's going on. So the first thing about the layers panel I want to show you is when you have a layer that you don't want to cut, but maybe you don't want to delete it, you want to leave it, you're not sure, or maybe you just want to get it out of your way. You have these little eyes off to the side. That means if you can see the eye, it means you can see the layer. If I want to turn off, say, this pink layer so that I can grab this orange layer easier, I can just click on the eye and the layer is still there, but it's turned off. So it's not going to cut, it's not going to do anything. If I want to bring it back, I can. But I can turn a layer off. Oftentimes you'll bring up an image in Design Space that'll have a shadow layer and it's automatically turned off. So if you want to use that shadow layer, you need to turn it on. So always look in the layers panel, see if you have any eyes turned off. Okay, the next thing you're going to notice in the layers panel is the preview of the image. If you click on the preview of the image, it's going to bring up some options. It's going to let you change the color. So I could change the color of that image. I can choose a color that's pre-made for me right here, or I can use this little slider and find a color this way. Can move this up, change it to the purples, move this around and choose a color that way. It's giving me the RGB code right here. So that's how you can change the color. I also can change this from cut to write. If I want the Cricut to write it with a pen, I can change that right here. So now it's going to write that layer. It's going to draw it with a pen, and I can choose what color pen color I want it to tell me to put in. I can change it to score. Maybe I just want that layer to be scored. And then I can change it to print if I just want to print that layer. So you have the option here to change it to cut, write, score, and print, and you can change the colors just by clicking on the image. So let's click back on the canvas panel. Okay, so down here at the bottom of the layers panel, you're going to notice some other features. The first one is slice. How does slice work? Well, if we had this, the middle of this flower and this piece, and say we, instead of putting this piece on top of this piece, we just want those holes to be cut out of this piece. What we would do is select both of those. I'm going to hit align, center, make sure that's lined up. And you're going to notice I have 2 layers selected. You can only slice with 2 layers. That's very important. So only 2 layers are selected here, and I'm going to hit slice and watch what happens. I just cut those holes out of that piece. Let's try it again with these 2 pieces. So perhaps I want to make an outline of a flower, I'm going to select these two layers. Make sure I only have two layers selected in the layers panel. I do. I have the pink layer and the blue layer right here. And I'm going to click slice. And now I have sliced that piece out of there. Think of slice like a cookie cutter. You're going to take away one piece from another piece. The next option we're going to go over is weld. This is how I would use the weld button. Say I wanted to make a flower border. I'm going to grab this piece right here. I'm going to duplicate it twice. And I'm going to space these out like so. And I'm going to select them all and hit align bottom. Okay, so I have them aligned. I'm going to make sure that they are touching a little bit, overlapping each other. Okay, so once we have all of those selected, we're going to click weld and watch what happens. You see that these are all now one layer up here in the layers panel, and they are connected. So I just made a flower border. The other time that you use weld, and I get asked this a lot, is if I have text. Let me change this to a easier text to read. Just love the text feature. If I have text and I want to make it isolate, ungroup to letters, and I want to make this text all cut out as one piece, and again, you could align this and use your letter spacing. I'm just trying to show you this quickly. Select all and weld. And now we have one piece right here. So those are two common uses for weld, is to take two shapes and kind of melt them together, or to take text and make it cut out as one piece. So I'm going to delete that. The next button we're going to explore is attach. This question comes up a lot. I have 3 lines of text here. It says, I love my Cricut, and you should too. Let's click make it and see what happens. You can see that Design Space has set this up on the mat to cut out like this, and what it's doing is cutting it out to save the most amount of paper. So it doesn't look the way I want it. If I want this to cut out exactly like I have it all set up and all lined up, I would select all and click attach. Now look what happens. When I click make it, it's going to cut it out exactly the way I have it set up. Another way that you use attach, and probably more often would use attach, is, okay, let's put a shape in. Square. All right, I'm going to click on this square and I'm going to make it white. Say I'm making a card. All right, and I'm going to put text, and I'm going to say happy birthday. And I want to put that text on the card. So I'm resizing it. This is just for illustration. So I wanted to say happy birthday on a card. If I were to click make it right now, there's my card. Here's my happy birthday. That's not what I want. What I would need to do to get that to print happy birthday on the card is select both of the objects, and I could click attach. Now what that's going to do is cut the happy birthday out of the card, because I attached the happy birthday, which was a cut file, to the card. But I can go over here and click on the happy, and I could change that to print. And I'm going to change my font to black. Okay, now when I click make it, I have happy birthday printed on the card. All right, let's undo that. Another way, if you want to print something, you're going to select it, and instead of attach and then switching it to print, we can click flatten. The only time you're going to use the flatten button is when you're changing something to a print then cut image. So if I just click flatten, it just did all those steps for me. So if I click make it, it knows that's a print and cut image. So flatten is only used for print then cut images. Say I decided I wanted that happy birthday bigger, I could click unflatten, and then I'm able to manipulate that again. So that is the flatten button. We have one more button here in the layers menu I want to go over with you, and that is called contour. So I'm going to grab this image, I'm going to ungroup it, and I'm going to take this middle of the flower, and say I didn't want those circles to cut out. I would click contour. And this gives me all of the images that I can get rid of. So I could get rid of all of them, which means now there are no holes in that image. You see that? Click undo. Let's click it again. Click contour. Say I just wanted to get rid of, I just don't want quite so many holes. I can do that. And if you watch right here, as I'm clicking on these, it's getting rid of them. If we click off of it, see, we removed some of those cut lines. So that's what contour does. Okay, we have one more button to discuss over here, and that is color sync right here. What color sync does is, say I want to cut this part, and say I want to cut the pink and the blue out of the same colored cardstock. All I have to do is right here, grab the flower and pull it down to the pink layer. Or maybe I want to cut these flowers in the red layer. I can do that. It's just an easy way to, without individually going in and changing each layer's color. Hope to see you in the next videos. Don't forget to check out the cheat sheets. I've got them linked below, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.